besties, welcome back. I'm so sorry that it's been so long since you've, I'd say, seen me, heard me, COVID and all that, but I'm going to share something that I get asked so often, and this is my buttercream recipe. It's quite honestly nothing special. The way I go about making it isn't anything different to most techniques, but I get asked quite a lot. So I'm going to share with you how I go about making it. Popped a few little videos on the front of here and some pictures just to show you the different ways in which I use it. The black was a chocolate buttercream coloured black because you have to use less colouring for that video there. And it's so versatile. I use it for piping cupcakes. Here you can see there's several different colours, different tips. This is using Russian piping nozzles, doing a little bit of different colour on there as well. This is a really wide end nozzle, it's a 3J. And then you've got the standard 2D on here, and also the centres of the macarons are piped. And here you can see a lovely close-up of me piping with an open star tip here. And this is one of my favourite techniques to use on the top of this is a ganache covered cake. So this cake isn't covered in buttercream, this is covered in ganache, which you'll find loads of videos for on my channel. But this top part here, the green, is buttercream. And it pipes really, really nice and smooth. You get very few air bubbles. Here you can see absolutely no air bubbles in this one whatsoever, coloured 4 different colours. This was just a work in progress shot of me making macarons, and why not? This one, I used it for the stripes on the buttercream as well as the black. It's all done in buttercream. Same on this one, the 3 colours on the main part of the cake done in the buttercream, and this one. So you'll find the full written instructions down below in the comments, the description for you, as well as the items that I used will be linked for you on Amazon. If you can buy them through Amazon, that'd be great if you use my links, because that really helps a small channel like mine. And obviously the usual, leave some comments for me, like, share, all that blah. Let me know what else you want to see. So I start out with 500 grams of real butter. You need real butter for this. No fake stuff, no half and half, no buttermilk substitute butter. And we've got 1 kilo, 1000 grams of icing sugar. I weigh my ingredients. I'm using a cup just to spoon it in. I don't measure in cups. I'm sorry if you're American, or I think Australia use cup measures as well. So this butter has been left out at room temperature to go not soft, but it's at room temperature. And there is a difference between soft and room temperature. We don't need it soft, we just need it at room temperature. Okay, and you can see how easily, this is a butter knife, it's not sharp, how easily the knife goes through. So we're just cutting it into easier, smaller chunks, and this just helps when you stick it in the stand mixer. Absolutely vital for making decent buttercream, in my opinion. If you're doing this by hand or with an electric hand mixer, it's going to take you much, much longer. Now I'm just breaking up the butter. My hands are clean, don't come at me in the comments for not wearing gloves. Nobody wants to be wearing gloves. This was purely for making examples for Father's Day when I made this, so you'll see me pipe those at the end. They didn't go out to anybody, and I don't wear gloves the majority of the time. I wear gloves for messy jobs, so I put them on if I'm colouring a lot of things. I don't want the colour on my hands. I put them on to work colour into fondant, things like that. But in the UK, it is advised against to wear gloves. They actually spread more germs than they stop, if that, you know, don't come at me for gloves, just crack on, live your own life. No one's asking you to eat it. So we're breaking up 2 bars, chunks, blocks of butter. We don't do sticks in the UK, we have blocks. Each block is 250 grams in the UK. Like I say, 500 grams to 1000 grams of icing sugar. Come at me in the comments for this one, but I don't sift my icing sugar. You don't need to, unless it's like coming out in huge clumps or it's been kept in a damp environment. You don't need to. I buy quite large bags. They come in a plastic bag, not a box, and it doesn't get clumped together. You don't need to sift it. All it does is create a huge mess in your kitchen. Putting the guard on my K-mix. I'm also using the beater, not the whisk. Not the whisk. I'm grabbing that out to show you, not this. We don't need this. That is for beating egg whites. It is not for making buttercream. You do not need it for making buttercream. So we're going to stick it in here. We've not put it in the microwave or I had to fight really hard to say microwave then, because that's literally what it's become in our house. We're not putting it in the microwave or anything like that. We are putting it in the stand mixer, and we're going to leave it in here for a good 5 to 10 minutes on full. And we want it to look like this. My hands are wet because I've washed them. Apparently I'm not very good at drying them. See how soft and fluffy and pale that is? That's what we want it to look like. It needs to be really light. You're swooshing through it like it's nothing. That's got no added icing sugar in it at this point. That is just the butter that we've whipped up for 10 minutes. If you're doing it in less than 500 grams, it won't come up this fluffy. I tend to do 500 grams of butter at a time and then freeze any leftover icing sugar, because making less than that doesn't come up very fluffy, and the bigger your bowl, the more you're going to need to produce at once. So I'm using a cup now. I'm not using it for measuring. I'm purely using it as a scoop, as an aid to get my icing sugar into that bowl. So I'm just using it, scooping one scoop in at a time. I'm opening that flap. Excuse the pun. No? Moving on. Opening the flap and popping in one scoop at a time, mixing it on quite low. You don't need to beat it on high once you have got that smooth buttery paste. And now we're whizzing on because boring. We also are going to add a little bit of milk and salt to this. It's a milk and salt emulsion mixture situation. So I put together roughly about 2 tablespoons of milk to about half a teaspoon of salt, just normal table salt. You don't need to use any fancy rock salts or anything like that. And all I'm doing now is I'm cleaning off the beater and around the edges of the bowl with a spatula, just to make sure that we're getting everything incorporated. And I'll do that quite often. I'll probably do it every third of the way through. Just to make sure that we're clearing off the bottom of the bowl, because quite often that'll have bits that haven't been mixed in, and off the sides, you know, it creeps up the sides, etc. Okay, so we're adding that icing sugar in still, 1 scoop at a time. I think this is the 3rd cup scoop size. It doesn't matter too much, just one that sort of fits in your hole if you've got a guard. If you don't have a mixer with a guard, then you're going to create a holy cloud of dust in your kitchen, and good luck with the cleanup. Any black surface will now be grey. And that's another reason I don't sieve my icing sugar. It's not necessary, and all it does is create a massive mess that you've got to clean up. In fact, at one point I used to sieve my icing sugar when I still sieved it outside, because I got so fed up of the mess. So I used to go and stand in my garden and sieve icing sugar. And that's me just clearing off the icing sugar in the funnel there. And now we're going to add our additional products to it. So we are whipping it together slightly. It's not on high still, it's on medium. You can't hear it, but it is only on medium, and you can see I needed it for a minute or so just to make sure that it was fully together. And here I haven't adjusted the camera for the bowl because I want to show you the actual texture. You can see it's got a lovely texture, and there we go, there is the adjustment. Don't know why I left that in. Production value on this video is probably like a 2. I'm really sorry, but you know, we're not here for the production value, we're here for the recipe and the how-to, which I'm giving you in spades. You're fine, you'll live. So all I've done is I've cleaned everything down again, gone around the sides. So what I've done is I've whipped the cover off there so that you can see properly. Now we're done making a huge dust cloud mess. I am swapping my heads. I'm swapping over to the spatula-sided beater. It's not a K beater, so it doesn't have the patterns in the middle, so it doesn't do as good a job of mixing it all together, but it's really good for the next part. If you don't have one, don't worry, it's optional, but this helps beat some of the air out. And now I'm adding my milk mixture, which is 2 tablespoons of milk to half a teaspoon of salt, just normal salt. And I'm adding that in half a teaspoon at a time. You won't need it all. Sometimes you'll need it all, sometimes you'll need half of it, sometimes you'll barely need any. And honestly, it varies day to day, week to week, month to month. There's no right or wrong. You need to get it to the consistency that you need. Obviously, for doing it on the outside of a cake, you want it to be a firmer consistency. If you're piping with it, you want it to be smoother. But also remember that any colours you add will soften it up slightly as well. So you need to remember that. Okay, so now we've got a nice smooth texture and we are taste testing now. I've took a tiny bit of a spoon off the side and checked it. I don't like showing my face on the camera, so I haven't showed me checking it. But it's important to taste test, but obviously just remember to use a different spoon, not the spatula that you've been using, and to pop it in the dishwasher or in the sink and use a fresh one each time. Just remember to do that, especially obviously if it's not for family or friends or whatever. Nobody wants your germs in their food. So we are done with the mixer now, moving that out the way. And what we're going to do now is we're going to just compress some of the air out. And you can see I'm basically using a folding technique. And we're pushing it against the side of the bowl to release some of the air pockets out. And this is the secret. This is, shh, it's a super secret. It's really not, but that's how we get rid of the air. There's my little milk mixture. Popping in some more because I've decided it's a bit too firm. And that's going to really get out those air bubbles, and that's what's going to make it smooth, nice to pipe with. You're not going to get air bubbles when you're smoothing it around the side of a cake. You're not going to get air bubbles when you're piping with it, especially if you're using fine nozzles or really detailed nozzles. Obviously, remember, if you are using a really detailed nozzle, you need to leave it a little bit stiffer so that you keep that texture there. But honestly, there's no super secret recipe or anything that I can tell you. You just kind of have to learn it. And that's, again, taste testing to make sure it tastes good. You know, trials and tribulations. You can also, especially if you are using it on the side of a cake, add a tablespoon or two of meringue powder. But just remember that that does contain wheat usually. So I don't always use it because I'm gluten-free. I know a baker that's gluten-free, ridiculous. So this tip is 3J. I'm just showing you how smoothly it pipes. These were my Father's Day examples. They didn't go out to anybody. They were just for me to pop onto my website and my Instagrams and TikTok videos and all that, blah, blah. All the links for those are in the description for you. And links for the gold balls I've used, and everything else are all in the description. I use disposable piping bags most of the time because I just find it easier. Reusables I only tend to use for things like macarons. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to pop you a few more examples of where I used my buttercream, always the same recipe, on the end of here for you. So here's some more cupcakes. These are my signature ones coming up. These ones, I do these so often, and I'm going to do a video for you on how I do those. Again, this one on the right here, done with buttercream, no royal icing or anything like that. All dead easy to do. And I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. Let me know in the comments if there's something you'd like to see me do. If it's something I can do, I'll absolutely add it to the list for you. And hopefully we'll get some more content coming up soon now that things are getting a little bit better with COVID and such. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye.